Hi everyone, this is Namura, and I'm here to bring a message from Spirit for the collective, just about a shift that is occurring, part of this transition into the Age of Aquarius. And of course, we are undergoing a lot of shifts. It's not anything new for anybody anymore, collectively and individually. But specifically at this time, what was coming through is about a shift from what it means to us to be happy on our own versus what it means to us to be happy as part of the collective, as part of a group, as part of the community. And of course, each of us has a perception on these things. And often these perceptions are distorted due to the fact that we have been told what we should think about this. We've been taught many things that weren't particularly helpful for us, even though they were said in goodwill. Just because humanity has been suffering and been hurt for so long time, that we've learned that we need to fight for ourselves, and that it's very hard to count on anything else, to ask for help, to expect many or any good things from anybody else. So of course this created a lot of separation, and it has contributed to this disruption that has happened within ourselves individually and within the human collective. So we are moving now back to a healthy way of perceiving and understanding and embracing this idea of belonging, of being part of a larger entity that is the human collective. It's not an easy transition, and of course, because everything that is outside of us has a reflection or an anchor somewhere within us, we are undergoing a lot of turmoil, so to say, internal turmoil, in order to get to the bottom of these false ideas, thought forms, judgments, and perceptions, really, about ourselves and others. We are being prepared for being able to be part of a group, of a collective, in a healthy way. This is a huge ending of a cycle, again, as we all know. And of course, it has so many aspects and so many levels and so many different ways of wanting to be seen and healed and acknowledged, that it means that there's a lot of work, and it can be tiring and overwhelming and disheartening at some point. And I'm sure that everybody has experienced this sort of feelings at some point in one way or the other, or maybe more than once. And that's okay. That's okay because it's part of the process, really. And Spirit says there's nothing to be afraid of or worried about when we get to these points of feeling like we're losing the battle almost. Because we're not losing, we're just having to lose some parts of ourselves that have been sabotaging us. And better said, even having to lose our perception about those parts of ourselves and actually recalling those parts to ourselves to be fully integrated. Going back to what I was saying, we are being guided towards retrieving our sense of belonging in a true, organic and natural way. This is one of our biggest wounds that we carry collectively and individually. This loss of the sense of belonging, which makes us feel lost and alone and unsupported and needing to be most of the time in a defensive mode, spending a lot of energy protecting ourselves. And this is not the way to go forward in this new reality that we are creating. We are returning to our natural way of being. And as much as it is natural, we need to remember it and relearn it because it has been removed from ourselves during many, many years and ages. So I'm having this image of swarm of bees and the way they function like one organism. And of course, humans are more complex in many ways than bees are. But the basic reality that we are meant to function as one, to live as one, is not a metaphor, is where we are being led and where we are being guided to go. This is where there's this difference between how can you be happy on your own and how can you be happy in a group. What your happiness means individually and what your happiness means collectively. And through this transformation, through this closing of a big and long karmic cycle and stepping into a new one, Spirit says that we are going to discover that the way of being happy in a collective is actually the only way to be happy. That what we assume to be happiness as individuals in separation is very far and inconsistent, because of course there will be fleeting moments, but very far and inconsistent compared to what it truly means to experience yourself as belonging, as being held, as being supported, as being accepted, loved unconditionally, and being able to function and to live beyond judgment. This way of living beyond judgment, which is of course difficult to imagine for us, occurs naturally when we regain that sense of belonging and when we are almost absorbed, I want to say, in this collective sense of being. Much as we try to go beyond judgment, and many of us try, and many of us have done huge progress with this through the work that they've been done with themselves in the last period of time. But much as we try, as long as we are in this state of separation, of feeling like we don't belong anywhere, it's very, very hard to see beyond this judgment, because judgment comes from wounds, it comes from fear. And therefore, as long as we are still wounded and in fear, judgment will always have something to hold on to within us. How we are going through this period, of course, is different from person to person, and everybody has their lesson to learn, their things to heal, and so forth. And I want to say there isn't a straightforward way of doing it, and yet we are doing it almost unbeknown to us. All this work that we are doing and all this drive that we have to keep finding and chasing our truth and regaining access to our true nature. All this is creating a quantum shift, and especially that there's so many of us doing it already. It's a quantum shift individually, but collectively. Again, this is not news. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this. But Spirit wants to make these points now, just because there's so many people who are tired and feeling like they're getting nowhere after all this work. And Spirit says not to worry about this, not to worry, and not to worry for 1 second that all this work is in vain. Because it's not, and the results will be huge and massively surprising. We do have our inner guidance, our inner guiding light, our inner map and compass. even though we feel like we are completely lost and have no clue what we're doing. This is leading to a period of massive growth and fertility, creation, creativity, and creation beyond our understanding, if I can say so. Spirit also says, give yourself permission to dream and to believe that it is possible to belong, that it is possible to feel at home on earth, and that is possible to actually want to be here, to be so fulfilled and peaceful and content, that it really feels like home, and there's no need to escape, there's no need to find anything else, there's no need to search for anything else, because you are home and you are where you are meant to be. And again, I know that for many of us this seems like a very distant and utopian dream. But this is where we're getting. We have still work to do. And again, I know many of us don't want to hear this because they are tired of all the work they've been doing and they've not had a chance to catch a break, because it's one thing after the other. But it feels like we've passed that tipping point, after which there's no turning back. There's no turning back to the old ways, because the old ways aren't in place anymore. What we still see is almost like their shadow that is still lingering. And this shadow is kept in place by our beliefs and perceptions, because we are so used to having things one way that there's a delay in the resetting of the reality, which is due to the fact that our perception needs to adjust. And this is where, of course, all this breaking down of beliefs, thought forms, emotions associated with them, and so forth, that I was talking about earlier, comes into play. We are still trying to find that point of balance, because we're not fully anchored in this new reality. And this is part of the process. We are in a very unstable situation. And of course, this is particularly uncomfortable. So of course, it's up to us to aim as much as possible to let go and not hang on to what we knew. A lot of the things that we hang on to are things that hurt us. And that's exactly the things that are falling apart. from our reality. The reason why it's hard to let go of these things is because of the wounds that they left within us. And there's this need of resolve, of closure, of justice that we are yearning for. We're yearning for all this, yet it's not going to come from anywhere outside of us. It's for us to be able to move on through forgiveness, through just making peace with how things have been and accepting them as they have been, and deciding that we don't need anything from anyone anymore, and we're just happy to move on and experience something else. So we're learning. We are learning to be what we have not been for a very long time. So be patient with yourself and with others, and remember that things can be and are meant to be way, way, way better than you allow yourself to imagine. As I'm about to close this message, I remembered that not long ago I had a dream, and one of my relatives who had passed away quite a few years ago came to me in my dream, as I said, and he told me this message that I want to share with you, because I really feel it wasn't just for me but for all of us. And he was saying it as really from the perspective of someone who is now on the other side and can see things in a way that we can't see them from here. Because in my dream he was actually talking from the other side to me. I was very aware in the dream that he had passed. And he said, make the most out of this life on earth, because this life is much more important for the soul than we would like to imagine. So I'm going to leave you with this message. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I hope it helped. And I hope to see you again. Bye bye. And much love to all.